Welcome back to the Inner Peace Workshop. I'm Todd Scholl, and this is episode 10, Reflecting on the Journey. Well, I want to say what an honor it is. If you're watching this episode, hopefully you've watched the previous 9 episodes and you've obviously found some type of value in it, and it's an honor for me that you actually took the time to go through the entire workshop. And I certainly hope that it has been a good journey for you, and one that has helped transform the way you look at how your mind works and how you approach your career and your profession and your classroom. In this particular episode, we're going to take a look back at what we've learned and just do a review of all the different techniques and just some major points from each episode that we've been through, and just as a reminder moving forward of what we've learned along this journey. And so anyway, I'm again so thankful for those of you who have stuck with it through the entire workshop, and I hope you enjoy this review of our journey. I'd like to start off with reviewing the 4 mindfulness practices that we discussed throughout this workshop. And the first one was a focus on the breath. Remember, this is one you can do just about anywhere. When you're on a bus, when you're waiting for an appointment at a doctor's office, you can always take time to stop and focus on your breath. And what this does again is it refocuses our attention onto the present moment, because the breath is always in the present moment. And sometimes throughout the day, if I'm in the middle of work and I know I can't stop for a 10-minute or 20-minute session, what I will do is just stop and take 2 or 3 really deep breaths and focus on those breaths. And if you do that multiple times throughout the day, what you're going to do is allow yourself to sort of get recentered, relax, calm things down. And so the focus on the breath doesn't necessarily have to be limited just to these longer sessions, but I find this is my favorite of the 4 sessions because it's so simple and can be done anywhere. And of course, we talked about the focus on the body, and what this is great for is identifying where your tension is in your body. And for me, it's in my shoulders and neck. For you, it could be, in other parts of your body. But what this does is, again, gets you to focus on the present moment, because if you're paying attention to your body and the sensations going on in your body now, then you are in the present moment. And what we want to do is kind of look for signs in our body of this tension, and then try to loosen those areas up and let that go. And this is just a really good way, sometimes before you even start that focus on the breath, you can just do a relatively quick scan of the body from your head to your toes and sort of unwind a little bit before you get into focusing on your breath. And then we talked about a focus on walking, which is a great way to combine mindfulness practice and a little bit of exercise. So if you really are in a crunch for time and exercise is important to you on top of this mindfulness practice, this is a great way of combining both of those things. So focusing on each step, the sensation of lifting the foot and putting the foot down, and lifting the other foot and putting it down. And then you can also even focus on things that are around you, what you see and what you hear. And if you have children, it's fun to take them on this type of walk and ask them to tell you, what is it that you see? What do you notice about the world around you as we go on this walk? And it's kind of fun to hear and what's going on inside their minds, and whether or not they're focused on the present moment, because children in many cases are focused on the present moment. They're not necessarily lost in thought about worrying about bills or plans for later. They're really right there with you, right at the present moment. And so it's kind of fun to do this with children. And then we had the focus on compassion, and what this helps us do is to really have a specific focus for our mindfulness practice, rather than just sort of trying to settle down and center ourselves. We actually have maybe a person or people in mind when we're doing this, and developing that heart of compassion, cultivating something within us that shifts negative feelings about somebody into positive feelings, so that when we interact with that person, even if they're being antagonistic, that we can have a heart of love with them. And this takes lots and lots and lots of practice. So bringing that person into your awareness and trying to let go of you're going to have these negative thoughts that come up when you think about this person maybe. And just recognizing those thoughts and then just continuing to focus and letting go of those thoughts. And then trying to feel a sense of compassion well up inside you. And this will really, I think, help you with some of your more difficult relationships. And then I want to talk about the specific ways that we can apply mindfulness. I want to review those with classroom management. Just remember that students are never going to do exactly what you want them to do. You can be the greatest classroom manager ever, and these are not robots. So the external circumstances you find yourself in are never going to be perfect. They're never going to line up with exactly the way you envision it being. And so rather than constantly being in conflict with that by not accepting that reality of teaching, we accept that reality, and then we can, instead of overreacting to disruptions and interruptions in our classroom, we can meet those interruptions and disruptions with a mindful state, and that will allow us to respond in a calm way and really do the right thing, not only for the student who is creating the discipline issue, but for the rest of the students who are actually behaving, because they don't want to be exposed to this stress, this yelling, and this overreaction. And so that is really, to me, one of the critical sort of side effects of regular mindfulness practice, is that it allows our classroom management to be much more effective and much calmer. And then with duty, remember when you're on duty, whether it's lunch duty or morning duty or afternoon duty, whatever it is you're doing, rather than always shifting your focus to all the stuff you have left to do, stay focused on your current your responsibilities. Be really fully present for the duty. And if it helps, you can focus on your breath. You can maybe do a body scan in the middle of this, but really look at what's going on in front of you. Pay attention to what is going on in the present moment during your duty. And as you notice that your thoughts start to shift towards past or future, sort of try to let go of that, notice it, don't chastise yourself, and then bring yourself back to the present moment and do your duty in that present moment, rather than always thinking about other things and being lost in that world of thought. When it comes to relationships, there's so many relationships that have to be navigated successfully as a teacher, with your students, with your colleagues, with administrators, with parents, with community members. And so if we can bring this mindfulness to our relationships with all of these people, what you're going to find is people are going to be more cooperative. People are going to feel like they resonate with you better, because you're very open-minded, you're very accepting, you're very loving, you have this compassionate heart that people are going to sense, and when they sense that you really care about them, then the relationship can be one of trust and one of mutual compassion. Now, we can't go into the relationship expecting that the person is going to reciprocate exactly the way we are treating them. In other words, we may have this really wonderful heart and this open mind. They may not have that in return. So try to let go of your expectations from other people. But what you're going to find is, when you do just continue to be compassionate and be mindful and be present for conversations, really be there rather than lost in thought, those people are going to really appreciate having someone in their lives who truly listens to them and is truly there. Not just in a sense that you're going to do things for them, but is truly present for the relationship. And then when it comes to advocacy, it's critical that all teachers are really involved in the political process, but in doing so, we don't get lost in this polarization that's so common in American politics in particular, whether it's Republican versus Democrat, conservative versus liberal. We can get lost in this world where we have a bunch of enemies and people perceive us as an enemy. So rather than getting wrapped up into that, we just talk about our perspective, honor and respect the perspective of others, even if we disagree with it, but continue to be passionate and share our values, our ideas, and our what we know is right for ourselves and our students and our schools. So what did you learn about your mind over the past 10 weeks? I know when I started my journey into mindfulness, I started to realize exactly how much lack of control there was over my thoughts. And so when I first did that breathing technique, what I noticed was I would try to stay focused on my breath, but I would constantly, over and over again, get lost in thought. And usually it was about future things. And so I realized how I didn't really have control over that, and how so many times throughout my day, such a large percentage of my day, I was lost in thought, and I was thinking about past and future events. And so I was going through my life kind of like almost like a zombie, almost like on autopilot, where I was driving places and interacting with people and just giving so much of my life over to thought. And so once this sort of dawned on me that was what was going on, and that was how I was spending my life, I realized how important it was to make mindfulness practice something that I do regularly, so that I can be present for more of my life. So I would love to know what you learned about your mind, and you can email me, toddscholl@gmail.com. I would encourage you to share this information with your colleagues. If this has been helpful to you, I would ask you to share this video series with your colleagues. It's free, and it's obviously easy to go through. And I would encourage you to just share your experiences with your colleagues, with your family members and your friends, and let them know about these practices, because they're free and accessible to everyone. And I would also encourage you to continue your practice. Even though we're at the end of the 10 weeks, rather than seeing this as the end, I would ask you to see this as just the introduction to a continued journey in discovering what it is that you can learn about your mind and how it operates, and what you can learn about cultivating compassion, and what you can learn about being peaceful, calm, and developing creativity within yourself through these practices. It is an incredible journey, and it's one that I don't think will ever end for me, and I sincerely hope that it doesn't end for you. So again, I just want to thank you for being a part of the Inner Peace Workshop. And I would love nothing more than to hear your feedback, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is. I hope that you will email me and connect with me, toddscholl@gmail.com. And you can find me on Facebook at Todd Andrew Scholl, or on Twitter at Todd Scholl. And I'd love for you to connect with me and let me know how this workshop has impacted you. And if you would like to explore more and learn more, I invite you to visit the website at theinnerpeace.weebly.com, because there's lots of great videos and references to books and movies and articles, so that you can explore more than what we were able to review in these 10 episodes. I would ask you to look at the link below this video for a PDF with some reflection questions, a journal entry, and your final bit of homework. And your homework is going to be an ongoing assignment. And what I would ask you to do is to pick out the techniques that you felt you connected with the most, whether it's mindful breathing or mindful walking or whatever. And certainly you can use all those techniques, and there's other techniques as well that you may discover along the way. But I would ask that you try to commit to 20 minutes a day of a mindfulness practice, whatever works best for you. And again, if you only can do 10 minutes, that's fine. Just try to at least take a few mindful breaths each day. And I think what you're going to find is, as you continue to practice, your resiliency will continue to grow, and the way you approach your career, the way you interact with your students and your colleagues and the parents and administrators, you're going to start to see, continue to see a transformation in the way those interactions go. And hopefully it's going to be much more peaceful, much calmer. And as a result, you'll be able to really truly enjoy the profession even more, because teaching is such a wonderful calling, such a wonderful profession to begin with. And if we can somehow learn to reduce the stress that's so commonly associated with it, I think we can enjoy it even more. And so that's really one of the goals of me introducing these techniques to teachers is so that they can truly experience great levels of joy in the profession and not get burned out and quit, because we're seeing so many teachers that are leaving the profession just because they are having a hard time dealing with that stress. Beyond just dealing with the stress, though, this is such a great way to develop compassion, for me to develop creativity, and to have a sense not only in the classroom but in my personal life, in my home life, to develop a much calmer attitude in the way I approach traffic, in the way I approach long lines, in the way I approach other things that would normally stress me out. When I bring that mindful approach to those things, I realize that if I just stay aware in the present moment, that maybe things aren't always going to go my way, but I can handle it and I can face it without flying off the handle and overreacting. And as a result, you don't get bogged down in that stress and get bogged down in that negativity as much. But anyway, it's been a real honor and a pleasure to produce this series. I want to thank Angie Floyd and Lisa Waller at Newberry College's Retained Center of Excellence. I want to thank the Commission on Higher Ed as well for providing the funding and the support. I also want to thank Sarah's Executive Director, Jane Turner, for providing me with the support to provide this workshop for you. And so I really wish you well in the rest of your career, and I hope that you will share this information with other teachers in your building and other people that are in your life, because I really truly believe that mindfulness is a great tool for everybody to help them cope with life and deal with life in a way that's going to bring about more joy, happiness, creativity, and compassion. Thank you so much again for being a part of the Inner Peace Workshop.